Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is it. This is session 1 of Homecoming, a Starforged, kind of like an actual play, I guess. This is supposed to serve as an example of play of Ironforged, or Ironsworn Starforged, which I've done reviews for, I've done the character creation tutorial for, I've also done a how to get started tutorial where we went over the sector creation and your truths and all of that. And this is the culmination of all of that work, and we're actually going to play. So thank you for watching, and feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget to give this video a huge thumbs up, especially if you want to see what antics Djon is going to get up to next. So without further ado, let's get started with the adventure. Loose dirt and sand billow up in a cloud as the fallen Hope lands on a rocky outcrop just outside of the nomad caravan known as Summit. People work on their vehicles, giant sand crawlers that are able to navigate the treacherous desert landscape. Helmeted children stare in awe as the armored bounty hunter makes his way to the largest crawler of them all. Several adults think twice about staying and quickly leave. Bounty hunters may represent some fashion of order, but not are so well civilized. Finally, Hunter stops before the leader of the nomads, who ushers him inside the crawler. The large vehicle offers breathable and slightly cooler air than the outside. The interior is filled with people resting from a long day's work, and further down the hall, he can hear the coughing and moans of those who are injured. Most of the conversations stop when they notice Hunter with Roy Donato, their leader. Roy takes his helmet off with a hiss and waits for Hunter to do the same. When he realizes that Hunter makes no motion to do so, he clears his throat and begins. Alright, so Djon has just landed on the planet Mirage, and he's parked his ship a little bit of ways away from the caravan, I guess. We've kind of already established that these people are somewhat nomads. They travel every season to kind of outrun this toxic sandstorm that sweeps through the planet. And so he is making his way towards Summit. In fact, he's already there. And maybe I'm kind of like envisioning this whole area to be just giant vehicles, kind of somewhat like those sand crawlers from Star Wars. Although with a little bit more variety. And so he's walking through this encampment, and people are just kind of eyeing him. And he goes up to, I guess, the de facto mayor of this place, the leader. And so the first thing that we have to do is roll to swear an iron vow, because he is making an iron vow to take upon this quest to find this doctor. And so in order to do that, we're going to take our dice. We need 2 d10s, which I have here of different colors, and our little d6, and we're going to roll and see what we get. Now, to swear an iron vow, when you swear an iron vow to complete a quest, write your vow and give it a rank. So we have to find this doctor. I'm going to give it a, perhaps a formidable rank. This is going to be difficult. The doctor just kind of went up and left, or something along that nature. Write your vow and give it a rank. Then roll plus heart. If you swear this vow to a connection, add +1. If you share a bond, add +2. So we don't share a connection or a bond just quite yet, so we're just going to roll with our plus heart, which is +1. So we're going to add our +1 to our d6 when we actually roll it. So we have our dice. Wish us luck. What do we get? Okay, so we get 4. Unfortunately, that does not beat a 10 or a 7. So already off the bat, we have a miss. On a miss, you must overcome a significant obstacle before you begin your quest. Envision what stands in your way. Ooh, this is interesting. What I'm envisioning is that there's going to be an attack on this settlement. There are going to be some raiders, and part of the whole trouble for this sector is that there are these people that have kind of not invaded, but they're looking to score off of the resources of this sector. And maybe Mirage is that place where all of this resource is. Remember, Summit is kind of prominent for mining, so maybe there's some sort of a resource here that they're mining that everybody else kind of wants. And so I think that we're going to have some raiders come in as Djon is talking to this leader. So all of a sudden we get like a shout, "They're here! They're back!" And so now we have to actually, well, we're interrupted and we have to do something about it. The mayor kind of turns to us.
"We were told you're good at finding people."
"I'm a hunter. It's what I do best."
"Our doctor has gone missing. Some suspect foul play from the raiders. They've been getting bold lately, stalking some of our mining teams like they're scouting for something."
"When was the last time the doctor was last seen?"
Incoming! Raiders!
As if things couldn't get any worse. You're a hunter, help us out.
"Get anyone who can shoot straight."
So Djon rushes out of the vehicle. Now this area is got a moderate atmosphere or a marginal atmosphere, and so that means that he is going to be keeping his helmet on at all times. And in fact, some of the people here, or actually all of the people who are outside, have these masks on with like rebreathers to kind of help them cope with the atmosphere or the lack of oxygen here. And so Djon rushes out with his pistol drawn. And now we do have to add something to our progress chart, because this is going to be a significant challenge. We need to defeat the raiders or do something about them. So I'm going to go ahead and add another progress tracker here for that. So we have to, or Djon has to fend off the raiders, and this is going to be a formidable task for him as these raiders just kind of drive in on these like cars and vehicles, think Mad Max kind of and Fury Road kind of vehicles. And now they're just kind of surrounding the encampment as people are running all over the place. Some of them are arming themselves to get ready, and Djon draws his pistol. And so we are entering combat. And so one of our combat moves to kind of get us started is Enter the Fray. When you initiate combat or am forced into a fight, envision your objective and give it a rank. So we have to fend off the raiders. This is going to be formidable. If the combat includes discrete challenges or phases, set an objective with a rank for each. Then roll to see if you are in control. So let's go ahead and roll to see if we're in control. Now, we do get some options here. On the move, we can roll plus edge. If we're facing off against our foe, we're going to roll plus heart. If we're in the thick of it at close quarters, we're going to roll plus iron. If we're preparing to act against an unaware foe, roll plus shadow. If we're caught in a trap or sizing up the situation, roll plus wits. Now, I think that because we've been caught off guard as a surprise, the whole settlement is caught off guard, we're gonna go ahead and roll plus wits. We step outside of the vehicle and we're looking around to see what is going on. Where are the enemy? Where's the enemy at? Who can we pick off and get away with it? So let's roll with plus wits. We have a plus wits of +2, so here we go. Wish us luck. All right. We rolled a 5 plus 2 makes that 7, so we definitely beat the 5 and the 1 on the dice. All right, so we have a strong hit with that 7, which beats our 5 and our 1. So on a strong hit, we get to take both of these actions. We can take +2 momentum, and we are in control. So let's go ahead and bump up our momentum by up to +4, which is actually pretty nice. We kind of want to bump it up a little bit higher before we actually make use of that. And we're gonna go ahead and, well, we're in control. So I think what we're going to do I think what really makes sense is to kind of gain some ground. We're gonna help these nomads out. And so when you are in control and take action in a fight to reinforce your position or move toward an objective, envision your approach and roll. And so what I'm thinking is that Djon has his pistol drawn and he's kind of just rushing into the thick of it, kind of fortifying a position out of one of the big nomad vehicles, sandcrawler vehicles, I guess. We'll just call them sandcrawlers because that's kind of really what they are. And so he's rushing into it, joining a line as he kind of takes cover with them. And he has his pistol drawn. So we're charging boldly into action, coming to the aid of others, negotiating or commanding. We're gonna roll plus heart and see what happens. Okay, here we go. Wish me luck. All right, roll plus heart. We have +1 heart, so that 5 that we have beats the 2 and the 1. Hey, it's actually our second strong hit of the session. So on a hit, you stay in control. On a strong hit, choose 2. We can mark progress, we can take +2 momentum, or we can add +1 to our next move. That's not a progress move. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm definitely gonna take that +2 momentum, and we are going to go ahead and mark some progress. Now, since we're marking progress, we need to talk about actually marking the boxes. So since we are in a formidable difficulty here, we get to mark 1 box. So each box has room for 4 ticks. And so we're gonna go ahead and mark fend off the raiders, and we're gonna have 4 ticks in that. So that kind of helps us out towards this fending off the raiders. And eventually, when we end the fight, we're gonna be taking all of that progress that we've marked and use that towards one of our final roll. We're just kind of scratching the surface there as Djon takes his pistol. He joins the other settlers or the nomads, and he starts firing off, trying to get them to disembark from their vehicles that they're just driving around in. So we stay in control. Our momentum is at +6, and what are we gonna do now? I think now is the time for Djon to strike. He's gonna take aim and he's just going to go ahead and start shooting at some of the raiders. When you are in control and assault a foe at close quarters, roll plus iron. When you attack at distance, roll plus edge. And so since we have our pistol drawn and we're firing at those raiders, we're definitely gonna be rolling at a distance. So that's plus edge, which Djon is actually really good at. He's got a +3 in edge. Now let's roll, wish me luck. All right, so with a +3 edge, that 1 becomes a 4. Okay, well, that's all well and good. We actually get a weak success. So we don't manage to beat the 4, because remember, ties don't actually go in our favor. So that's okay. A weak miss or a weak hit, we'll go ahead and take that. On a weak hit, mark progress twice, but you expose yourself to danger. You are in a bad spot. So I think what's gonna happen is that Djon is going to come out of his cover to kind of get himself at a good angle. And he's firing at these raiders. And that, since he's leaving cover, all eyes are now on him. So we're gonna mark progress twice, which means that we get 2 boxes full on our progress meter to fend off the raiders. So now we are in a bad spot, okay? So remember, in combat, when we're rolling, all moves are player facing. All rolls are player facing. So unless something specifically says pay the price, we don't really take damage or anything like that. Now, if I was to miss on that strike, so the fight turns against you, you are in a bad spot and you must pay the price. Narratively speaking, we would get to come up with what price we're gonna pay, whether it's damage or some sort of other disadvantage for us. So we're in a bad spot right now, which kind of limits our moves. So we could react under fire, or we can clash. And since I think the raiders are kind of facing him right now, I think that they are going to, I think we're gonna have to react under fire. So when you're in a bad spot and take action in a fight to avoid danger or overcome an obstacle, envision your approach and roll. So I think what we're gonna have to do, what Djon is gonna do, he's gonna, since he's been exposed, he's kind of in the middle of this firefight, he's gonna go ahead and look for some cover. He's gonna try to duck out, so to avoid any fire from the raiders. foe in pursuit, fleeing, dodging, get back into position, or take cover will roll plus edge. Remaining stalwart against fear or temptation, roll plus heart. That doesn't really fit. If we're blocking or diverting with force or taking the hit, roll plus iron. I also don't think that's really beneficial for us. If we're moving into hiding or creating a distraction, roll plus shadow. If we're changing the plan, finding a way out, or cleverly bypassing an obstacle, roll plus wits. So we're gonna go ahead and dodge. So that means we're gonna roll plus edge, which is a +3. That's actually in our benefit. So let's go ahead, we're gonna take our dice and see what we roll. Wish us luck. Oof. That's unfortunate. That 1 becomes a 4, but it does not beat a 6 nor an 8. That is a miss. On a miss, the situation worsens. You stay in a bad spot and must pay the price. So let's take a quick look at paying the price. So when you suffer the outcome of an action, choose one. Make the most obvious negative outcome happen. Ask the Oracle for inspiration. Interpret the answer as a hardship or complication appropriate to the situation. Roll on the table. If the result doesn't fit the situation, roll again. And I can automatically tell you that most of these on the table aren't really going to fit the situation. But what does fit the situation, since the Djon has exposed himself to danger in this action, it only makes sense that he's going to take some damage. So we're going to take a point of damage. Our health is going to go from 5 to 4, which is unfortunate, but we can take a hit or 2. And we stay in a bad spot. So his attempt to kind of get into cover doesn't quite work out. He's caught off guard, he has taken some damage, and what he's gonna do is he's not gonna react under fire. I think he's going to go ahead and fire back. He's gonna go ahead and clash. So when you are in a bad spot and fight against a foe at close quarters, we're gonna roll plus iron. When you exchange fire at a distance, roll plus edge. And actually, something about paying the price is that, inevitably speaking, we could come up with, the price. And he's already taken 1 damage. But what if when he actually takes cover, there's a raider right there? So there's a raider that I guess he's wearing a mask, so he's not gonna see him grin. But the raider's gonna hold up some sort of a crude saw axe or something like that, something that you would find in Borderlands, and now he's gonna go ahead and clash in close quarters. So just something different. So Djon pulls out his knife, his ceremonial Ironsworn knife, and he's gonna go and clash with this raider. So that means we're gonna roll plus iron. And that means we're gonna have a +2 for this one, but that's okay. All right, so he's gonna go ahead and clash at close quarters with that knife. All right, so we've got our dice here. Let's go ahead and roll and see what we get. Remember, we got a +2, so wish me luck. All right, that is exactly what I wanted to see. And actually, we got 2, that's like 3 5s right there. 2 of them for our D10s, and 1 that we've actually rolled. Now with that +2, that makes it 7, so we get a strong hit. So let's talk about matches. Since we rolled 2 5s, those are matching numbers on our challenge dice. So on a strong hit, the match represents an interesting twist or a new opportunity. So let's keep that in mind as we take a look at our strong hit for our clash. So on a strong hit, mark progress twice. You overwhelm your foe and you are in control. So let's go ahead and mark 2 more boxes. So we are at 5 progress boxes at the moment. And so what if we say that this interesting twist of ours is that we are next to a raider vehicle, and maybe we can kind of do something to gain some ground or turn this into our favor. So he's just kind of gone head to head with this raider. He's taken him out with his knife, and now he's right at this vehicle. And I think what we're gonna do is, when you are in control and take action in a fight to reinforce your position or move towards an objective, envision your approach and roll. And so I think he's gonna try to finagle some way to possibly get this vehicle maybe charging at another raider vehicle and exploding, something along those lines. He's gonna set up a trap with this vehicle, is what I'm getting at. So let's go ahead and roll plus wits. I think that's the only thing that really makes sense. He's kind of cleverly doing this, trying to gain some leverage. So we're gonna take our dice and roll, and we're gonna, well, wish Djon some luck. Oof. Oof. All right. So what we can do here is actually use our momentum. We are at +6. And so what that means is if we decide to burn this momentum after we roll our dice, we're gonna change that to a 6. Which means with our added +2 wits, that becomes an 8, which means that we obviously have a strong hit. So we stay in control, that's the most important thing, and on a strong hit we get to choose 2. We're definitely gonna mark progress for our first one, and we can either take +2 momentum or we can gain +1 on our next move that's not a progress move. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take +2. So remember, when we use our momentum, it resets back to its default center. And currently for us, that's at +2. So we're gonna take +2 momentum, which gives us to +4. So we have 6 boxes marked on our progress meter. So something that we could do that is a little bit risky, we could take decisive action. So when you seize an objective in a fight, kind of like how we just did, we're gonna envision how you take decisive action. Then roll the challenge dice and compare your progress. Only thing is we can't use momentum or pretty much anything. It's a straight up challenge dice roll. So that gives us a 60% chance, or actually it'd be about 50% chance because we'd have to roll above a 5 of actually getting it. Oh boy. You know what? Let's take that chance. We're gonna go ahead and grab our dice, get rid of our action dice because we're only rolling our 2 challenge dice here. And wish him luck. Okay. 8 and 5. We have a weak hit. On a weak hit, you achieve your objective, but not without cost. Roll on the table below or choose one. If the fight continues, you are in a bad spot. Now would kind of be a good time to start thinking about if we're going to continue this fight or if the raiders are just going to up and leave. But let's take a look at what's on this table. On a 1 through 40, it's worse than you thought. Make a suffer move. Victory is short-lived. A new peril or foe appears. You face collateral damage. Something is lost, damaged, or broken. Others pay the price. Someone else suffers the cost. Others won't forget. You are marked for vengeance. It gets complicated. The true nature of a foe or objective is revealed. Ooh, there's actually 2 really good ones on this table. First is that others pay the price. It only makes sense that the nomads are going to suffer some casualties. And something else that really does make sense is that the others won't forget. And I think it only makes sense that the raiders are not going to forget, who kind of, went up above the call of duty and kind of wrecked their stuff. So why don't we make up our own oracle? A yes or no oracle. And this is really going to be a 50-50 chance. So I have my D100. On the lower half of the spectrum, we're going to take others pay the price. On the upper half of the spectrum, we're going to have others won't forget. So here's my D100. Let's go ahead and roll and see what happens. Well, there's no point in wishing Djon luck because this one really isn't about him. All right, 76. So that means we have been marked for vengeance by the raiders. So Djon looks around. The vehicles, the nomads' vehicles, are just battle worn and damaged. You can see that there's some smoke coming off from the raiders' blaster fire. The raiders leave a trail of dust and smoke as they retreat in their vehicles. This victory, however, is short-lived. As the raiders drive away, a couple of them turn back. They will remember Djon and his helmeted face and the armor that he wears. So Djon has just driven back the raiders by forcing one of their vehicles to crash into another, causing like a fiery explosion. The raiders turn tail and run, but they've marked him for vengeance. But this is a really good opportunity for him, because if the doctor was taken by the raiders, well, there's only one place that they're going, and that's back to their base. So, of course, following this train of logic, Djon sets out to go and follow them. There's a problem, however. The raiders are in their vehicles, traveling quite quickly over the desert terrain. Djon doesn't have a vehicle other than his ship, and he's not about to expose that to any danger or alert the raiders of his coming. So, what can he do? This is actually a really good opportunity to talk about scene challenges. A scene challenge is an optional structured approach for resolving an extended non-combat scene against a threat or other characters, particularly when a time limit or looming danger adds extra urgency. Scene challenges use a troublesome, dangerous, or formidable progress track countered by a tension clock with 4 segments. Make the begin the scene move to start the challenge. So, the begin the scene challenge. When you face an extended or complex challenge, name your objective and choose a rank as appropriate to the situation. So, for this one, we're going to follow the raiders. I guess that's what it's going to be. Follow raiders. And this is going to be a troublesome difficulty for us, because the raiders are driving across a desert terrain. That's going to leave billowing sands in their wake as they travel. It's going to be pretty easy to follow, in theory. So we have a clear advantage, so that is also why this becomes troublesome. We're going to activate our 4-segment clock and face danger or secure an advantage to take action. So these are the 2 different moves that you can use during a scene challenge. Secure an advantage is exactly that. We're doing something that gains us some sort of advantage to kind of progress or to mark progress on our new clock that we have. Face the danger is when we attempt something risky or react to imminent threat within the scene challenge. So first thing that we're going to do, since we don't have a vehicle, I think it only makes sense for Djon to approach the leader of this nomad group, and we're going to ask for a vehicle. So when you assess a situation, make preparations, or attempt to gain leverage within a scene challenge, envision your action and roll. If you act with speed, mobility, or agility, we're going to roll plus edge. Not quite. With resolve, command, or sociability, roll plus heart. Unfortunately, yes. With strength, endurance, or aggression, roll plus iron. With deception, stealth, or trickery, roll plus shadow. Or with expertise, focus, or observation, roll plus wits. Djon is talking to the leader of this nomad group, so that's going to be with plus heart, which is plus 1. Wish Djon some luck. Alright, unfortunately, we can burn some momentum here. Djon is heated from this battle, and the leader of the nomads knows this, and he knows that Djon can get right after the raiders and exact some vengeance, and possibly claim back the doctor if the raiders were the ones, in fact, who took him. So what we're going to do is we're going to burn some momentum here. Our momentum is plus 4. So we're going to change that 3 into a 4, which makes our actual roll a 5. So we are able to get a weak hit. On a hit, you are successful. On a weak hit, we get to choose 1. We could take plus 2 momentum or add plus 1 on our next move. So Djon is definitely going to go ahead and take plus 1 on his next move. Unfortunately, because we secured an advantage, that doesn't really give us any progress on this follow the raiders back to base track. And that's unfortunate, but this actually does allow him to go ahead and follow the raiders in this nomad vehicle.
I need a vehicle if you want any chance of finding that doctor.
Very well. Just get it back in one piece. It may look like a hunk of junk, but it's all that we have, and we need every single vehicle.
So he rushes after the raiders in this nomad vehicle. He's following this sand trail at a distance, following their tracks. And so we're crossing some dangerous terrain here. So when you attempt something risky or react to an imminent threat within the scene challenge, envision your action and roll. We're definitely going to be rolling with, we could either roll with speed, mobility, or agility, or we could do so with expertise, focus, or observation. What would make sense here? I definitely think that he's going to be keeping his distance. So he's not going to go at speed, but he is going to be on the lookout, trying to follow that sand cloud as best as he can. He's always on the lookout, just in case the raiders try to put one up on him. So we're gonna roll with plus wits, which is +2. So we got our dice, and remember we get a +1 on this roll, so wish Djon some luck. Alright, so we get a +3 bonus total. That is just barely a strong hit. On a strong hit, you are successful and mark progress. On a strong hit with a match, mark progress twice. Unfortunately, that's not really a match. With a troublesome difficulty, we actually, whenever we mark progress, we actually fill in 3 boxes. And that's very beneficial for us. So that's 2 actions down on this clock that we have going for us. So I think what we're gonna do is Djon is he's gonna go ahead and speed up. He can see in the distance that the raiders are trying to get somewhere, and so possibly he can take them by surprise if they're going to base. And so he's gonna speed up, and he's going to really try to drive recklessly, I suppose. So we're gonna go ahead and grab our dice and roll with plus edge. That gives us a bonus of +3. And so wish Djon some luck. Oh boy. That's pretty much like the exact same roll from last time. That 5 becomes an 8, and that is a strong hit. So we mark progress twice as Djon starts to speed up. What are they going to do? What can he do? Well, I think that kind of really ends the scene here. So he's speeding up, and he's catching some ground on these raiders. And so I think what we're going to do is finish the scene. When the scene challenge tension clock or progress track is filled, or when events lead to the scene's conclusion, roll the challenge dice and compare to your progress. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my action dice, and we're only going to grab our challenge dice. See, I'm kind of learning the lingo of the dice. At least I hope. And wish Djon some luck. Alright. That is a weak hit. A 9 and a 5. Compared to our 6. On a weak hit, you succeed, but not without cost. You must pay the price. Make this a minor cost relative to the scope of the scene. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is that Djon is speeding up as the raiders are going back to their base, and he's driving recklessly. And so what he's gonna do, he's gonna crash his vehicle into one of the raider vehicles. And so I believe that means our vehicle's gonna take some damage. It's kaput. There's no coming back from that. He totally wrecks it as he leaps out of the vehicle just before the impact, taking some of the raiders out with the vehicle in another giant explosion, or not giant, but a sizable explosion happens. And I think what that means is we're actually going to go back into some... Let's see what happens. Why don't we roll an oracle for this one? And so we have 2 options here. The raiders can flee into their base for protection, or they could initiate a fight here and now. And so I think this is going to be another custom oracle for us. We're going to go ahead and roll a D100. So I think there's going to be a 75% chance that the raiders go back to their base. And there's going to be a 25% chance that they're just going to turn around and initiate a fight with Djon. So let's grab our dice, and well, we can't wish Djon any luck for this one. Let's see what we got. We have a 64. So that means the Raiders are gonna turn tail and run back into their base. All right. Let's go ahead and roll to see what we can come up with about this Raider base. All right. For our descriptor, we have a 62. 62 is lush. Very interesting. For our focus, we have a 58. Outbreak. Lush outbreak. What could that possibly mean? Really, the only thing that comes to mind is some sort of a research station. And as such, I'm thinking of a researched vehicle or a derelict, let's just say. So derelicts are like crashed spaceships that you can actually go into and explore. And this actually kind of makes some perfect sense that the Raiders, maybe they had crashed in the ship and they're using it as a base, or maybe they discovered it. It could be an ancient one. So what we need to do here, let's go ahead and see if this is a derelict starship or a derelict settlement. So what we're going to do is, since we're on the planet side, we're going to roll a D100. 1 through 25 is going to be the starship. 26 through 100 is the derelict settlement. So we've got our D100. Let's go ahead and roll to see what we come up with. We have a 72, which means they are in some sort of a settlement. Ooh, this is going to be really interesting because maybe this settlement is like carved into the side of a canyon. Remember, we have like these large valleys, we have massive canyons and dry seabeds and things like that. And so I think it would make sense that it's carved up into like the side of a canyon or something like that. Think of the indigenous people down in the Mexico region, or maybe it was Arizona. I think that's where you can see the towns carved in the rock croppings and stuff like that. Okay, so what is the condition of this derelict? We have several different conditions such as functional, limited power, cold and dark, damaged or breached, heavily damaged, or impending destruction. So we're going to take our D100 and roll again. So here we go. Ooh, we have 57, which is cold and dark. Okay. We could come up with something for that. Although I don't think it would be cold. I think it would be pretty hot since we're on a desert planet. So we're going to say it's hot and cold and dark. Hot and dark. So that means it doesn't have any power. Okay, that's all right. The Raiders have kind of gone in and they've barricaded themselves in this settlement that's been carved along the cliff face or whatnot. So outer first look. Let's go ahead and roll a D100 for that as well. So the first look, what do we see as we actually take the time to look? We have 60, okay? It's an odd orientation. Maybe like some of the cliff or some of the cliffing has kind of like slid over time, so it's like at a really odd angle. It's like almost diagonally. That would be really interesting. So we're not going to do an inner first look just quite yet because we actually need to get our way inside. So we're kind of really at a standstill here, or at least in my mind, because we need to find a way inside of this derelict. But I don't really think that means we're going to open up a new progress track to do so. Then again, the explore moves don't really quite fit as well. So what can we really do? Well, there are some adventure moves that we can take, like face danger, secure an advantage, compel, aid your ally, check your gear. But the one that I think that really makes the most sense is to gather information. When you search for clues, conduct an investigation, analyze evidence, or do research, we're going to roll plus wits. So I think that's really what we're doing. We're kind of looking for a way into this derelict. So since we're rolling plus wits, I'm going to go ahead and take my action dice and my challenge dice, and we're going to go ahead and roll to see what we come up with. All right, so we have a 9 and an 8 with our plus 2 wits. Wow, okay. Unfortunately, that does not do it for us because we got a 9 and an 8 on our challenge dice. Are you kidding me with that? On a miss, your investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals an unwelcome truth that undermines your quest. We're going to pay the price. So what is the price that we can pay? And actually, what I'm thinking is that the raiders in their little secure settlement base here, they're going to start to fire upon Djon. I think that means he's going to take some damage. And now we really need to decide, are we going to stay here or are we going to try to fight them in their own base? And that would be I think that would be an extreme difficulty for us. And at the moment, I don't think we can really do that. So I think for now, Djon has to retreat. And I think that's going to be the first part of this adventure. It ends in some sort of a bitter defeat, but perhaps he can find some way to overcome these raiders and gain entrance into the settlement. Unfortunately, the raiders know that he's there and they are going to be on the lookout for him.